Hello again, this is Anthony from the Board Game Nexus, and welcome to another episode of the Board Game Crowdfunding Rundown. This is for week ending April 24th, 2022. As you can see in front of you, we have the Board Game Nexus Crowdfunding Lounge, which will be made available to you all very soon. As you know, we are in our open beta right now. You can come sign up, check it out. In the crowdfunding lounge, you'll be able to see these rundown videos for every week that I'll be doing every Friday, and you'll see our picks for the month. In the crowdfunding space, you'll get to see what actually is going to be ending this week, what's going to be launching this week, and any active projects currently on crowdfunding platforms right now. We cover both Kickstarter and Gamefound. So, without further ado, let's jump into this week's games. All right, so first topic will be games that launched this past week, right? New games that are in the mix. So the first one we have here is on Gamefound. It's called For Northwood by Side Room Games. We are at 1,230 backers with 14 days left in the campaign. It's at 23,741 of $3,000, so it's well funded. What is this game about? So For Northwood is, for all intents and purposes, a trick-taking game, right? Which, obviously has its own little nuances and differences from other trick-taking games out there, but it looks cute. I think you're different, like you're trying to play to different factions, and each one requires a certain amount of tricks to be taken for them to get them to come, and you're kind of like trying to gain those factions or kingdoms or whatever. Looks really neat. Definitely, if you're into trick taking, this is one to look at. So yeah, that's definitely one to get into. I'm never a big fan of cards that look like regular playing cards, though. That's the only thing that gets me. But either way, it's already funded. So trick taking is for you, for Northwood. Think about checking out the campaign. All right, next one is Birds of a Feather. This one's interesting. 14,104 of 9,000 gold, 498 backers. So we are funded here. What is Birds of a Feather? So Birds of a Feather is, from what I've been researching, it is a game that's based on, I guess, sightseeing of birds, like bird watching, if you will. Where it's kind of like a hidden information game where everybody plays a card out in secret, and they reveal them. And then based on all the different cards, you're going to be able to mark off on your little sheet which birds you got to watch, right? And you're trying to get different sets. There's an app that allows you to scratch them off on the app instead of using a piece of paper. I guess there's some strategy in when you play certain birds, or when you hope that other people are going to play their birds for you to get it. It's like bingo, I guess. Seems neat. I think that the art's kind of pretty on these things. So I think, if you're into this kind of theme, I guess it could be for you. 1 to 7 players. 9 plus 15 minutes. That's a short, quick game to get to the table. Let's look at the price point here. So single copy is $19. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Let's go back. I didn't check the price on this one. $15 for Northwood. Again, that's way in the splurge zone, where you just jump out there and say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and just pick this up. $15. That's a no-brainer. If you want a trick-taking game, go for it. $15. Another card game for bird watching, 1 to 7 players, like 15-minute game for $19. Again, it hits that price point where it's pretty easy to decide to pick it up. So I think for both of these, I'd back them. I would. All right, next one. This one launched as well. Much bigger goal, much bigger level. 81,000 gold, 536,000, currently 5,200 backers. So this is the Dark Quarter. So this one I think we teased it coming up in our last episode because we knew it was launching this week. So, and basically this is another, as we expected, another narrative app-driven game. This one's a cooperative narrative in the Dark Quarter 1980s New Orleans. I think that's a pretty cool setting. And I don't know. I'm still hesitant. I'm not really buying into this just yet, mainly because the last few games that Lucky Duck came out with that were narrative app-driven games for me were really heavy app, and really just like the components were kind of just along for the ride, honestly. And I think I'd like to see a little bit more game in the box and less in the app. The app should just kind of be helping you. It shouldn't be doing everything for you, in my opinion. So like, as much as I do want to try it, I think the quality of their games is really good. The component quality, the art, like they're really, really good at that. It's just that I think some of the board game gets lost. And look, I'm not against app games at all, personally. I like them. I think if they're employed well, they're good as an aid to the game, but to add some narrative to it. But when they start taking away and all you're doing is moving a miniature and rolling dice, and then everything else is on the app, to me, that's really, you're playing an app, and I'll just play an app game at that point. So the jury's out on this one, right? 1 to 4 players, 120, 180 minutes, 16 plus. I'd love to see it be more than that, than the last few I've seen, to be honest. I hope so. 5,200 people think it is. That's a big bet, because it's a decent price point. What are we looking at? 94 euro. So just the base game is 59 euro. So you're looking at $64. Not a bad buy-in. Not a bad buy-in at all. So I think it's, if it was over $100, I'd say no. But being that it is the price point that it's at, I think that's fair. I would pay $60 for this, sure. What am I missing out on? I guess the expansion, right? The Lost Tonight expansion is the other thing for $100. I don't know. Again, like if it's anything like the last few, I'd probably pass. But you never know. We'll have to see. Next one. So again, that's me. It's on the fence. Not really sure for the last one. All right. Finally, we have Paradox Initiative. Join the top secret Paradox Initiative. Solve a puzzle of your Paradox engine to harvest worlds for study. 39,000 out of 30,000 goals. 720 backers. 13 days left. This one seemed kind of neat. It was like you've got this like Paradox machine in the middle of the board, and you've got these arrangement of, I don't know if they're like elements or whatever, and you're moving them around trying to create like sets of them. You're swapping different positions, and it's activating these things in this paradox, and you're like going to different, like, I don't know if it's dimensions or whatever, and you're collecting like aliens and stuff, and you're trying not to mess up the whole time space-time continuum, I guess. I don't know. It's really really thinky brainy, but it seemed pretty interesting, to be quite honest. Just check it out, watch the video, and see what you think. It looked different enough that I was intrigued by it, to say the least. At $39, I think, from what I saw, I think this could be pretty fun, honestly. Something that I thought was interesting. I say go check it out. This one seemed pretty neat. Watch the video. Gives you a good feel for what's going on in the game, and I thought it was neat. I thought it was definitely worth looking into. Yep. Okay, so we're gonna jump in next to games that are ending within the next week. All right, so where are we starting here? Mercurial. Control chaos with elemental dice as you craft spells and perform heroics in solo, competitive, and co-op game for 1 to 4 players. 235,000. Well funded. 3,500 backers. 3 days left on this one. Looks super pretty. It's like a dice rolling spell, like building game. Like you're trying to create spells using elements you're gaining through rolling dice. Looked really cool. I think this one's definitely worth looking at. Let's look at the price point here. We are at $60 or more, about $45. I don't know what that means, but $45 US, or one physical copy of Mercurial. Yeah, that's definitely in the right price point. Super pretty game. Looks really cool. Like the dice mechanic. Combining spells, I thought it was really neat. It's only got 3 days left, so I would definitely go check this one out. This is one I'd back for sure. One I would back for sure. Made Up Movies. Right, this one's interesting. This is a party game. Not sure if you're interested in party games, but it's 22,000 out of 5,000 gold, 421 backers. You basically are like a movie person who's pitching a movie, right? So you've got to pick all these different cards, right? So you've got like your movie card, your star cards, your genre, and you it almost filled in like a Mad Libs where you're saying this is a reboot of, and it tells you all the things that you need. Each card, like the stars, will be different celebrities, and it gives you all sorts of like that. Like here we go. Like for example, this is a reboot of Step Brothers, starring Will Smith and Nicolas Cage. This is a buddy cop movie at a kid's birthday party. Think The Matrix meets Mean Girls, and it's called. And you've got to come up with a witty title for it, right? And then all the other players ask you questions, and you have so much time to come up with witty answers, and then they're going to determine whether or not you're going to get some of the budget money. And the player with the biggest budget at the end wins. So it's one of those interesting sort of like improv party games that seem pretty fun. If you got a big group of people over and you're just trying to, just kind of like have an improv night, be funny. So $25. It's in that card game zone for pricing. So I think I would try this one. This one would probably be a good time. It'd probably be good for a few laughs. You know what I mean? That's Made Up Movies. And it's got 4 days left. Dead by Daylight. So I covered this one last week. This is a board game version of a video game where you're running away from a bad guy murderer in like a horror movie type set. It's almost $779,000, 8,000 backers. This one, we knew it was coming. So again, I'm not going to go too deep into it. I covered it last week. But looks really good. If you're into these like sort of horror themed games, I guess it's kind of like a multiplayer version of like Final Girl. You know what I mean? Like where you've got multiple people running away from the bad guy. Maybe somebody is the bad guy, trying to get them to one versus many survival horror game. So you've got somebody who actually plays as the bad guy, which is why it's a 3 to 5 player game, right? Because you're not going to have just one survivor versus one baddie. The 3-player minimum count really hurts me because I don't have a group that big. So unfortunately, I'd have to pass on this. But for those of you, $50 buy-in, I think that's a pretty reasonable price. So I think you should go check it out if it interests you. You're running out of time, 5 days left. Another one covered last week at 93,000 out of 21 goal, 930 backers. 5 days to go. This is Feralis, Obscure Land. This was a competitive deck construction card game, 1 to 4 players. This one was really, really pretty. I thought the art was super slick on this one. Really cool card mechanics where they kind of flip over when you upgrade them. Some dice rolling. It seemed like it was a pretty good game. Like again, you're combating each other. It's one of those, you're like dueling wizards, if you will, and you're bringing in your minions to do your biddings. Core pledge is $47. I think based on the fact that these are like tarot size cards, that usually the cost goes up. They look really, really high quality too. So I think that's where you get sort of this higher price range. But I think if you're into those card dueling games, I think just solo mode too. Yeah, I think you go for this. This looks like it could be pretty fun for sure. So you've got 5 days left on Feralis. I think you should go for it for sure. I would. Kingdoms Rise and Fall Dorian. This is a deck building game for 3 to 6 players with a pinch of adventures, upgrading characters. 22,000 out of 23. So it's just about funded 5 days ago. It looks like they might get over the finish line here. This is it's kind of like an area control. Upgrade your champion, traverse the map, collect gear, arm your guy, level your guy, do battles on the map, and basically it's one of those sort of just fighting for control of the map games in a fantasy setting. It looks pretty. I don't know how much it appeals to me personally. It's just not something that I'm into, this type of game. I think if you're like doing quests and you're earning gear and you're fighting each other, it could be good depending on how much there was to it that is above and beyond fighting other players. I think that's what I would look into, because if it's just literally you going around and fighting other players, that's one thing. But if it's like you going out and adventuring to get your stuff, and then earning gear, going out fighting monsters and getting rewards, and then buying stuff in towns, I think that could be cool. It's just that I'm not into the whole player versus player on the map combating with cards type game. So for me, it's a pass. But for you, if you're into that, which a lot of people are, for £53 or $53 for €49, it's not a bad buy-in for this from the looks of it. So it's a pretty game for sure. It looks like it could be fun if you're into that. But again, the 3 to 6 is a turnoff for me, and sort of the combat-y area control is also not something that we're into so much. So, but I think if you're into that, it's definitely one to go for. 5 days left on this. All right, next one is Pharmageddon Bugs versus Drugs. 5 days left on this one. This is a medical card game. 11,798 out of 15,000. Getting there. Not sure if it's going to make it. Pharmageddon is literally just a card game where I guess you're basically playing drug cards to kill the bad bugs. Bugs being like sicknesses, illness, and all that stuff. I mean, it seems neat in that, from what I'm seeing, looks like it's trying to be accurate in what types of drugs are used to treat what types of ailments, right? Which is pretty neat if you want to learn, if you use it as a learning tool to see that, what can be done to combat different types of ailments or different types of bacterias. Everybody thinks they're a doctor nowadays, so why not? Go for it. I think it's pretty good. $25 is a pretty low buy-in again for a card game, but I mean, it's very simplistic. I don't know. It seems kind of almost tongue in cheek, but if it was true to fact, and these and the drugs and the ailments were true, and it was actually accurate, I think that's even just alone for this to be as a learning tool, I think would be pretty cool. But if it's not, then it wouldn't interest me at all. I think that would be the biggest hook for me, is if it was actually factual in what your drugs were, to combat these ailments. So hope it is. If it is, so that would be my trigger. If it was that, I would buy it. If it wasn't, then I'd have to pass. We got 5 days to figure that out, folks. Go check it out. Pharmageddon, Bugs versus Drugs. All right, another one ending in 5 days. Traders and Raiders. This one only had a $52 goal. That's like saying, you know what, I just need to sell one of these and we're going to fund. That's it. And they sold 21 of them, $1,159. So they were going to fund no matter what. Traders and Raiders. So this is an interesting game. In that, I mean, I can see why, and I wasn't kidding. One cost for $52. That was the buy-in. They just had to sell literally one copy. It's like you're going around the map. You're creating like these trade routes with different villages. You're like these sort of like goods. You're using goods, and you're gaining money through these routes. You're fighting monsters and stuff like that. You've got these follower cards and building cards, and there's a real disconnect here. And these are the things I notice when I look at these campaigns, right? And some of the game designs. So there's a real disconnect between the art on the cards, right? So the art on the cards is like beautiful, beautiful art. But then you look at like some of the components, and you look at the board, and it's like you got an artist to do the art for the cards, but your graphic designer was somebody much different, right? And they're just two different levels here that are very disconnected. So it makes for almost a disjointed product, in my opinion. I've seen this on many games, where some, like, the art could be really good, but the way it's applied to the board and the way it's applied to the cards, the graphic design doesn't really bring it all into one cohesive package. And it just doesn't look right. So I think this game definitely suffers from that. Not to say that that's just me, and I'm just nitpicky in that way, but I'd have a hard time with it. I think if it was more consistent art wise, because I mean these cards are nice, man. They're real nice, real nice. They look um Gloom of Kilforth. If you ever played that game, like those cards are some of the best art I've ever seen. In cards, and that whole game is cards, right? So it's important that the cards look good, and they all are legit good. This is like close to that level, but nothing else is. That's all I'm saying. So for me, I'd have to pass because that would bother me too much. I think if you upped the quality of that stuff, I'd go for it. But hey, you know what? If funded, there's some backers. I think if you would have really tightened all that up, this game would have probably been much, much more funded than where it was. That's all I'm saying. But if you're interested, I say go check it out. Just give him my 2 cents, folks. Just give him my 2 cents. All right, Party of 4, Fortunes Found in Dungeons Deep. $7,000 of $1,000 gold, right? So why did this one fund more, right? Because it's probably cheap. $5? Like, what is this? Deluxe pledge is $5. This is a print and play, probably. So a complete physical copy of so it's like, because it's all paper, right? It's just like a roll and write, if you will, right? Because you're just creating this party of 4, you're giving them stats, and then you're going through like this sort of like grid dungeon to walk through. And it's like real simple dungeoning. This kind of looks like I don't know, like a print and play, in my opinion. You read it right. Party of 4 is a physical game, not a digital or print and play. If you're wondering how such a super amazing game can be produced for so low price, then feel free to skip ahead to risks and challenges, right? Because it's just paper and very little cardboard. So yeah, it's cheap. Super cheap. That's why. I'm not into that. I'd rather pay for a little bit more. Maybe there's a good game in here, though. Who knows? For $5, you can find out. Is it worth the risk? Yeah, I think so. What's $5? Could be fun. Could be fun. But you got 5 days to go figure that out. So, like I said, you create a party of 4, you give them their stats, and then you go through these dungeons, and I guess you draw tiles, and it tells you what you're encountering, and if you have the right stats to get through it, and whether or not you're going to succeed by rolling dice. What if it comes with dice? I would doubt it. I bet you have to use your own dice. I don't know. Go check it out. See what you think. $5. Is it worth it? And finally, last one ending in 8 days is Bonnie and Clyde. So this is a 1 or 2 player game. It's at 6,000 out of 10, so it doesn't look like it's gonna fund. Like 8 more days. I really hope. I thought this one would be pretty neat. Let's see what the pricing is on this one. Bonnie and Clyde. $26, $29 US. I think that's a pretty fair price for this. You're basically Bonnie and Clyde, and you're running from the police on your killing spree, shooting everybody. And it just follows your travel down the road, choosing a path. You're going to perform stick it up food. You're going to rob people, maybe kill some people, resolve a bunch of events until the nighttime. The cops are going to close in on you. A couple different modes of play. That could be interesting. I don't know. I like these like historically themed little games, little box games, right? So could be neat. Could be neat. Unfortunately, they're not quite there. Maybe they went a little too high on the funding, but I don't know. I like the theme of it. I thought it would be pretty neat. So I'd say go check it out. Bonnie and Clyde, Love and Death. You've got 8 more days. Maybe they get there. They need $4 more $1,000. That's a pretty tall order in 8 days, but you never know. You never know, folks. All right, now on to the last segment where we are going to talk about games that are coming next week. All right, So, games launching next week. So, we have a number of games lined up here, actually, for next week. And the first one is Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. So, I think we covered Sleeping Gods back before it even came out, which was really cool, sort of like choose your own adventure type exploration and adventure game from Red Raven. And I thought it was really neat, really cool. I love the fact that they're putting out expansions for it. Which means they're continuing to support that, that story game. Really sweet. If you come to the Nexus, you'll see we have it set up. We also have links to the Gamefound campaign here, so you can go follow that as well. Definitely worth looking into, especially if you own Sleeping Gods. You definitely need to go check this out for sure. Next one up is a game called Space Lion. Let's see, there are alien armies on all fronts. You can't possibly win fights on the battlefield. Feel like you are the commanding officer of a huge battle and deploy your units strategically and carefully. 4 asymmetrical armies to choose, each 7 unique game. All right, it sounds pretty cool. 2 to 4 players, 45 minutes. Interesting. I think it's going to be interesting next week to see when we cover a little more in depth. So like this is always just a sneak peek of what's coming. So we don't have a lot of information on these yet. Lawyer Up Season 2, 1 to 2 player 60-minute game. We never played the first Lawyer Up, so I'm assuming it's a game where you are lawyers and you're in a court doing cases and all that good stuff. You're an asymmetrical 2-player courtroom drama game where one player is a noble prosecution, the other is a steadfast defense. Each begins with discovery. All right, so you're going after each other, trying to you're both trying to win the case. That seems pretty cool. I'll definitely look into it. I like the art. Really good art here. So definitely look into that one. I can't wait to see more about that one. So that's coming next week as well. Here we go. Next one, Assault on Doomrock Ultimate Edition. So Assault on Doomrock is a game, it was like one of the first Kickstarter games I backed way back in the day. And it had a really cool like freeform combat where there was like no grid or anything. You were just either close or far away from the monsters, and you had to just do moves and get through it. And you were like going through this like campaign of missions that was like randomized. I thought it was really, really cool. The fact that they're coming out with an Ultimate Edition I think is awesome. Definitely interested in getting more information on this one. That game, I still have it in my collection. Really, really enjoyed that one. I thought it was really cool. So there's all the different improvements. Playtime shortened to 60 minutes. I think that's really good because that game did go on for a while. Easy to use encounter AI sheets for streamlined battles. Redesign and improve hero traits. Terrain expansion. Redesigned for ease of use. So they've polished the game up. It was a pretty cool game when it was out. So this will be pretty neat. Pretty neat. Next one we have is the Great Wall. We cover the Great Wall on our channel. Really, really good Euro Asian inspired themed game by Awaken Realms. Really cool concept, really good game. They are doing a reprinting of it, so if you missed out on the original Great Wall, I say go check it out. There's a lot of game in that box, and it is high quality for sure. Go check it out. Go to our YouTube channel if you want to see the video on it, which we'll actually probably add to this game page itself just so you can get to it as well, to check out the game. And finally, we have Hydroracers, the Schneider Trophy Epic. That's interesting. 1 to 4 player, 30 to 60 minute. Guess this is a competition. 4 nations competed with daring, technique, and extremely dangerous speed races. It's a game of fast-paced interspeed preparation race. So it's like you're racing airplanes, playing cards. More information to come, folks. Next week we'll be covering this one in more detail as we can. So that about wraps up our show for today. I hope you were well informed. If you are a publisher and you want to make sure that we've got as much information to cover your games on this show and on the Board Game Nexus, please be sure to reach out to us at contact@boardgamenexus.com, or if you are a member of our website, you can actually get access to publisher forums where you can just submit all the information there in one neat form where we can upload all of that information to the game profile here, and we'll be able to speak a little bit more in depth about your games on our weekly show. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.